much of the world is on high alert tonight as the death of North Korea's leader Kim Jong-il raises new questions about nuclear security. The deceased leader gave rise to a cult of personality as well as chronic poverty and famine conditions within his own country that killed millions. But might his death be an opportunity for a new kind of North Korea? Here's ABC's David Wright in South Korea.
He was the pint-sized dictator of a pariah country with his finger on a nuclear trigger. Whenever Kim Jong-il rattled his saber, as he did with some regularity, he'd fire off one of these. Remember George W. Bush's famous phrase?
States like these and their terrorist allies constitute an axis of evil.
He was talking about Iraq, Iran, and North Korea, and that was before Kim Jong-il succeeded in building a bomb. Today on North Korean state TV, the news anchors wept as they broke the news of his death. Beneath the giant statue of the dear leader, a display of abject grief, patriotic mourning. Kim Jong-il was the absolute ruler of North Korea for nearly 20 years. But today, even as the news broke of his sudden death, North Korea carried out another missile test.
They have between 6 and 12 nuclear devices. We don't think that they are anything that can be put on the end of a missile, but they certainly are a deterrent.
Over the years, Kim Jong-il proved very adept at using his nuclear ambitions as a bargaining chip, outfoxing several U.S. presidents who tried to stand in his way.
I don't think Americans should ever have thought of North Korea as a military threat. They know that if they were to attack us, they would be obliterated. They're not crazy.
Kim Jong-il played the crazy card and played it with his own peculiar style. In his elevator shoes, his portly jumpsuits, and his oversized shades, he looked more like an Elvis impersonator than an evil emperor.
Why aren't more people encouraging, like me?
In movies like Team America World Police, he was an easy figure to parody.
I'm so lonely.
The outlandish stories that built up his cult of personality did little to cultivate respect. The story goes that in 1994, the year he took power from his father, the great leader, Kim Jong-il played his one and only round of golf, shooting 38 under par, including 11 holes in one. If anyone in North Korea didn't believe it, they didn't dare say so out loud. As ABC's Diane Sawyer discovered in a 2006 trip to North Korea, the population was kept almost hermetically sealed from the rest of the world.
My country is the strongest country in the world. And it has got the strongest soldiers.
If North Koreans know little of the outside world knows even less about the young man who was anointed his father's successor. Kim Jong-un is thought to be in his late 20s, his father's third son. While Kim Jong-il had been a well-established member of his father's military regime, Kim Jong-un is a virtual unknown.
So here you have a young man of 26 or 27 coming into power with this very important dynastic role to play. And I think he's not going to want to have anybody rock the boat, and I don't think he is going to rock the boat.
But what if some other faction in North Korea decides to rock the boat? It's not yet clear how much Kim Jong-un commands respect among the military hardline. This is only the second time in history the hermit kingdom of North Korea has had a transition of power. And now there are nuclear weapons in the mix. Here in South Korea, that is a source of fear and uncertainty. They don't yet know whether they can afford to be optimistic, whether this may finally be a turning point for the better, or whether someone, either the new leader or a potential rival, might lash out in order to prove a point. The devil they know has been replaced by one they don't, and that's not much reassurance. Cynthia?
And our thanks to David Wright. ABC's Global Affairs anchor Christiane Amanpour joins us now from London. Christiane, good evening.
Good evening, Cynthia.
You were in North Korea in 2008. What is the death of Kim Jong-il likely to mean for the people there?
Well, you know, there's this unbelievable cult of personality, as we all know, but this is a country that barely ekes out a subsistence living. This is a place where the prison camps are bursting at the seams, where it's the last of the truly totalitarian regimes. So for the people, not much is going to change, because we don't seem to think that this new leader, untested, unseasoned, so young, will be able to immediately put any stamp on what happens there. On the other hand, some are saying the very fact that, unlike his father, unlike his grandfather, he actually lived abroad for a while, has seen a different kind of life than just North Korea. Maybe, just maybe, down the line, there might be some reform.
You know, Christiane, for an awful lot of people in the U.S., it's all about the nuclear weapons question. The U.S. is currently in talks, as you know, with world powers, including China and Russia, to try to address the threat. But what's the next move now for the U.S. with regard to nuclear weapons?
Well, very difficult, because the US was for a long time now, several months, in direct negotiations with North Korea about North Korea suspending its nuclear program. And of course, with the death of Kim Jong-il, that is going to probably put that on hold for the foreseeable future. But I was there, as you say, in 2008, and at that time, North Korea had suspended its nuclear activities. I watched them dismantle part of the Yongbyon facility and stop processing plutonium. I also watched them blow up the cooling tower, and that was done in a very careful arrangement with the United States, sort of tit for tat, diplomatic engagement. So it is possible to do. It's just torturous getting both sides back to the table.
So, Christiane, with the attempted passing, it looks like the passing of power here from father to son in North Korea, anything to be learned from the Arab Spring when we saw the failure of many such transitions?
We've seen people power sweep the Arab world. It's probably not going to happen in North Korea anytime soon, because I cannot tell you how isolated that place is. There's barely any electricity. If you see a satellite picture of the Korean peninsula, South Korea is exploding in light. North Korea is dark. They're barely able to survive, most of the North Koreans. So it's unlikely that that kind of people power will be manifested anytime soon there.
Christiane Amanpour, an important day in the life of the world, and we're very grateful that you could join us tonight from London.